Our third speaker is Ms. Barabara Dooley, who acted as president and CEO of the Commercial Internet Exchange Association from 1996 to 2002. Headquartered in Washington, D.C., CIX marked the beginning of the commercialization of the Internet by offering interconnection to Internet service providers and representing their interests in Washington and in the international arena, beginning 1989. She spent more than 10 years in Europe, living most of that time in Berlin. She performed a variety of freelance jobs for German and U.S. companies. In 1989 and 90, she held a diplomatic visa as the foreign agricultural expert on the German Democratic Republic. German Democratic Republic for the U.S. Embassy in East Berlin. She holds degrees from Brown University, University of Kansas, and National Louis University. Thank you.
He who doesn't prepare written comments to read brings props. So, here's mine. It is one of the market I cornered on these after the wall came down. And the East German flags with the Checkpoint Charlie stamp made especially for me since we knew that was going away. But how I ended up there is a story of cease, and I was so glad that at lunch there was a discussion of Bill Fletcher because Bill Fletcher influenced my life, although a lot of everything that happened was also happenstance. I ended up as an undergraduate for a year at KU because I was running away from my engineering program at Brown University, and I had to have a reason to run away. And the reason I decided to run away was to study Serbian, a language which was not offered at that time at Brown University. This is true. And I would not, however, have decided on Serbian except that to replace me in the family, I was the oldest to leave. My mother took a foreign exchange student from Serbia. And this was, as you can imagine, in the 70s in Prairie Village, Kansas, and we had the communist Tito land, a very brave move. I became quite fascinated when I went home at Christmas with the Cyrillic alphabet, and then when these two things collide, get out of Brown, get out of town, find something at home that they don't do at Brown. And I looked, no Serbian, boom, in. So I have my year permission to leave, and the first day I'm in campus, I walk into Bill Fletcher's office because all the courses that I want to take are only open to junior, seniors, and graduate students. And I said, but I'm only a sophomore. And he says, look, the only difference between you and them is they've been warming the seats longer than you. Just do what you want. Off I went. It was a fantastic year. I had Leslie Demas that year. I had Dr. Seymour. I had Professor Chinchama. I only took courses from CEAS plus all these sports things that we didn't have at Brown, like weightlifting with the women's basketball coach. It was a completely wonderful experience. Then I went back and switched from engineering and completed my degree in history. Then I got married, and as we've heard, from other people, marriage changes your path, your career paths. We went to Madison for a semester, and then we took off on a sort of around North Africa, the things people did in the 70s. But that included a bicycle trip on two pink Merciers from Paris to Belgrade through Eastern Europe in 1977. Very interesting time, many wonderful experiences. Whoever mentioned about military and diplomats are detained, well, the rest of us, which included the border between Hungary and Slovenia, in which we have been taking documentary pictures. Every time we came to the border, we'd take a picture. And we took a picture, and the next thing we knew, we were in a small town jail. And they took my husband away, and I was left for many hours. And I am extremely upset about this because one, I don't know where he is, and two, I'm thinking, but I'm the one that speaks Serbo-Croatian, so why did they take him away? And what's happening next? And what's going to happen? And then finally, at the end of this very long day, when it's now dark, they say you can go. And they even gave the camera back without the film. And I, because I'm still brash, say that we can't go anywhere. Where's a bed and breakfast? No bed and breakfast. Said, I'm not going anywhere now on my bicycle. We'll spend the night in jail. And the cop, he had those Miami Vice reflective glasses on in a little Lada car. He says, follow me, and we burst out of town afterwards. He shows us this little flat place outside of the village with a little stream by it and says, you can camp here. So we put our camp, we went back to that village that night to eat, and then we were like the toast of this entire village. There were so many stories. I could not wait. That was so exciting. Then we pedaled on to Belgrade and went to the embassy to report our story, and they were quite amazed that we got the camera back. Thought we were pretty lucky. We decided it was too dangerous to continue because we almost got killed on that. All those who've had experience in this part of the world know that there are 2-lane roads, very skinny, and all traffic are on those roads. And that particular road, of course, went from Turkey truck traffic all the way into Western Europe. So there were trucks, there were animals, there were everything, still buggies, and no shoulder. So we sold our bikes to a Marine in the embassy and proceeded to Bulgaria by bus and train, which had its own amusing adventures. Then we decided we liked traveling so much that we would become teachers of English as a second language and do linguistics, and we applied to the program at KU, and we were both accepted. And on that first day, I went to that department, and unlike this cooperative couple, I walked in, very small department, and think, okay, so there's only this pot of money to go around, and we're a couple, so he's going to get it, and then I'll divorce him, or I'll get it and he'll divorce me. I better find something else to do. And I walked across to Bill Fletcher and said, you need another graduate student? He said, sure, why not? Great. And I switched that day and entered the MA program at SEAS. And I had, a team of these very same great professors. But now I was taking the graduate level courses in this program, and I was interested still interested. I'd gone to Belgrade for the very first time at the end of my final semester. I went alone, stayed with that exchange student in Belgrade, and so I was wanting to do Serbo-Croatian, and I started in that again. And then that husband, he is no longer my husband, although we're friends, wanted to go to Germany, so the same problem happened. I applied for the Fulbright to Belgrade and he to Germany. I thought, this isn't going to work again, so East Germany, no one's talked about that small little forgotten segment of the SEAS program, which was the GDR. And at the time that I was here, there was a professor named Joan Holmes. She was the first IREX scholar, American, to study in the GDR, so they knew her very, very well. And she taught the literature of East Germany. So I decided it was probably to my advantage to start emphasizing the GDR. But I, of course, did not know German. So I knew some. I started reading German. And then it becomes just that serendipitous thing that East Germany is interested in building an exchange program with the University of Kansas, and they've contacted Joan about this. And when you start understanding the thinking of those government officials at the time, they thought this was a great place because it really is far away. And where would you go if you were in East Germany and you were in Lawrence, Kansas? If you'd gone in a program with New York or Boston or somewhere, you could disappear relatively easily, but what are you going to do in Lawrence, Kansas? With no transportation or public transportation except a bicycle, they thought it was relatively safe from nefarious influences. So they invited a student to go for a summer program in the GDR. And I was selected, and the story that I tell that I have no one can contradict this story, is that they decided to send me, who did not know German, so I could make no diplomatic mistakes, but I knew about Eastern Europe, rather than send a German student whose German would be very good but maybe would screw up. So I was sent to Greifswald, And the journal I kept from that time is hilarious, since I could not order a beer. And a lot that went on around me when I'm writing notes about it is very funny to read. I knew how to say Fehlwirtschaftsplanung der DDR. I could read that word and understood what it meant, but I had no way of surviving on the daily level. So they put us in language classes, the baby class.